Playing that fullback, knock those players out of the way of that. I believe I could have run behind you. Martin, I can remember when we came to Summer and you played fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you pick up, you saw up pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it and I learned that thing back. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show. Championship. Martin on our inside perspective. It's time for Martin Houston Show for Alabama Sports 100.9. Streaming on Tide 100. All
right, guys, welcome to Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show can also be seen broadcasting on Facebook at Martin Houston Live, Tide 109 Live, Alabama Tradition, as well as on the personal Martin Houston page. Also, check us out on YouTube in playback mode or live if you so choose, as well as the Twitter account at Martin Houston 35. We're live, local, and ready to get on this sale Friday. Before 905-904 Alabama One hotline is fired up, open, ready for looking for you all. Everyone, that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. All right, got a lot we can get to. Been a while since we had you on. We can review some recruiting news. We can start things off with that in just a minute. I don't know if you guys have read the Lane Kiffin interview from SI. Earlier this year, we really didn't report. There was found some comments from Jimbo that he on the whole who's right, who's wrong, Jimbo, Mr. Character, and of course would have been a fire sale Friday. We may go back and hit a few things from earlier in the week that we hadn't got to. In time permitting, we may start this conversation, or we may kick it to next week. And of course, that's regarding Bryce Young. You guys be thinking on this. Will Bryce Young be Alabama's first 5 and 50 guy? And Will Anderson be a 20, 40, 100 guy? So, and what those two things is, will Bryce Young be Bama's first 5,000-yard passer and 50 touchdown quarterback, and will Anderson have 20 sacks, 40 TFLs, and 100 tackles in a season? And if so, would that be the greatest two single performances in a year? So we may get to that, may not, but either way, we can get to it. X, we were talking a little bit. Let's start off with a little bit of that recruiting news. Of course, we know about Eli Holstein. Reaction to Mr. Holstein pulling the trigger and choosing the Tide earlier this week.
Yeah, I think it was a big I know we all kind of sitting around waiting on Arch Manning to see what he's going to do. But Nick Saban said, "Hey, I don't have time to wait. I like Eli. I think apparently he thinks he's just as good, if not potentially better than Arch, and he likes things that he brings to the system." And you're talking about a big, physical, athletic kid at 6'4", pushing 230 pounds that can well, very well as a combine. This month, I think Eli be the favorite one is a big man.
Yeah, Bama, Eli for commit for the 2023. Definitely a hit. Out holding off, and of course, we're not mentioning the young man name, but one potentially at the let me see, was the catalyst that forced Nick Saban to call out one of my coaches. But along with that young recruit, any other news, anyone else making any decisions around the recruiting world that you're aware of?
Well, we've got Samuel Baxter. He's number one running back in this class. He's the former high school teammate of Christian Leary, who's going into his sophomore year. He has added Alabama to his list, and it's going to be some have made hurt. Also, Elliott, first guy that's back up. It doesn't seem like he's getting, but he's a 17-year-old kid. He wants to take it and see other campuses and enjoy the experience of recruiting, which I feel like everyone should, no matter you know what you want.
Do you think he's been offered any money in an NIL deal?
That's a good question. He's from down near South Florida, from Venice Beach, so you just never know nowadays. And I think with the way Nick Saban called some people out recently, and other coaches, it's been leaked about the things that they've said. I think there's going to be a little bit more hush hush on what we find out.
Or if this is Mr. Criticized me for saying people are paying them to come in. Saying that's not what is happening. That is exactly what's happening. It was the end of his answer to the whether NIL will or has impacted the locker room. These comments were made prior to Nick Saban's assertion that A&M bought every player. It was also before a reported gag order on the SEC coaches. But because of that comment, the comment comes off as even more genuine. So leading up to National Signing Day, named them in comparing era recruiting 2 free. Schools have salary cap financial capacity. I joked the other day, I didn't know if Texas was going. (205-292-4680) or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at southmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904. Tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
College football, what it is as far as getting high competition level and getting to the next level.
Yeah, Joe, you have any thoughts on those early comments by Jimbo and and Lane and Jimbo? Had you heard that? I had not seen that Jimbo had called them clowns early in the year, early in February. In February, I should say.
Well, he's been defending his program from these shots. Really since signing day. Lane Kiffin was talking about how luxury tax, this, that, and the other. He's talking about salary cap. But these coaching development, and they're going to have to try to get their fan base and their booster base up on the NIL game.
Yeah, and so when you think about Lane, he goes on and says several other things, and this is the point where Lane sounds like the one who is probably worded it as well as anyone. And then we'll get to maybe a couple other things into it. But this is now remember also have uh, interview before Nick Saban publicly. He said there are all that are coming, and others haven't seen be the big issues with it yet. Let's say report and some quarterback is making out. How is he coming into the locker room? The coach is going to need to, or owners mad when he got the first round pick, the donors draft. I love that you heard he said the first round pick that the donors draft. I've been in that situation before, referencing him being a former NFL head coach. The people paying that are gonna want that to play. If he's not playing, how is the backup quarterback who is earning just a scholarship going to kinds of issues? Has time to out coming out of college to switch rookie contracts when they out incoming get less. The NFL out in the rookie contract years ago, the rookies were making 10-year vets. They fixed that. A major problem in college right now, you got good players who are returning stars not making anything because people are paying the ones coming in, trying to get them in NIL bidding wars. People are going to criticize me for saying that. People are paying them to come in by saying that's not what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. Does haters, I've seen, but brought up another point, X, Joe, a lot. The challenge gonna be the booster influence because of the money when it decides to play. What impact that gonna have on the game?
Oh, I think it's going to have a massive impact on that because I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and the NIL, these boosters, these fans, whoever it is, they're putting in an investment, and everybody that invests in something wants an ROI. So so I guess what happens is when what's what happens given is stipulations to get it back. It's become a game. Live, buying, and play.
Got anything on that?
I'm not. I think that. I think that. Oh, it's gonna. It's gonna change the game, sure. But players have been getting paid, my whole life, in my opinion. So I don't know if it's going to be that much different. It's just out in the open. And it's just out in the open, and it's going to be it's more expensive right now in this moment because it's legal and because it is out in the open. Give it another year or two, and let's see if they're still paying as high a dollar, as high a price as we've been hearing on the reported side in the last 12 to 14 months. Let's see what happens in the next 12 to 14 months to see if these boosters are paying this money. I think the market that we have excited to get some money. You with you get going salary cap, boosters want to see guys on the field. It's going to have to come down to a strong coach. We talk about it's with the Miami Heat. They've got a high dollar player, Duncan Robinson, sitting on the bench in favor of Max Strus, who's a cheap player, because Eric Spoelstra thinks that Max Strus is giving him the best chance to win, and we see that with Bill Belichick as well. Basically, plays whoever he thinks is going to give him the best chance at winning. And so it's just going to come down to a strong head coach. You need to, Coach Saban, when he got here, basically said, "We'll accept your money, but your influences. You can't be in my, really have hands on in my program." That's just going to have to continue. I think that Steve Sarkisian is looking at a huge problem. We've all known that Texas boosters have been a problem for coaches in the past. Well, that's going to continue to be a problem, and I think that it's just going to come down to a strong head coach. If you buy Steve is right, so I think it becomes a strong head.
Yeah, well, I agree. The part, I think the market is going to correct itself eventually. I think you have desperate programs, desperate things to try to get back the level playing field with the Ohio States, Alabama's, Georgia's of the world. Where have you not heard NIL deals being that big of a deal at, Joe? You heard anything from Georgia from a outlandish recruiting type standpoint? Really, the Alabamas, the Georgia, Ohio States, and Clemson. You really think about it, Oklahoma, you hadn't heard a whole lot. It's those programs that are really close, like the Texas A&M of the world, the USC's of the world, or it's those teams that are really desperate, like the Tennessees of the world. So you're right. I think you're going to see those things kind of level themselves out when the market settles and they realize I'm not getting a lot of value, not as much. They're going to get some value, but not as much bang for the buck. And I think you'll see the collectives out and settle. And it's one thing and have to go to the private. Like we know are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks with a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch, which we that we know can help. If you're looking for one coaching, also visit pep.com Martin and Martin Center for Leadership Mentor.
Welcome back to the Houston Show. The sound of Bama Sports. Your show for Alabama. Tide 100.9. Streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Hey, let's get the Pat Alabama One Hotline. Pat, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with X's and O's Sports. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, fellas. First off, the story, Martin, you're absolutely correct. Your second contract in the NFL always brings you the most money. And I don't know year to year instead of a 4-year